My brother humiliated me at the family barbecue. I revealed the wrong things he was doing. Taking money, hidden from the family. The smell of charcoal and lighter fluid always takes me back to that July afternoon when everything changed between my brother Marcus and me. I can still feel the Texas heat pressing down on my shoulders as I stood in our backyard, watching him flip burgers like he was king of the world. If I had known what was coming, I might have stayed inside with the air conditioning and avoided the whole mess. But then again, maybe it was time someone called him out on his bullshit. I was 26 then, still living at home while I saved money for nursing school. Marcus was 31, supposedly the successful one with his construction business and his fancy truck parked in the driveway. Our parents had always favored him, the golden boy who could do no wrong, while I was just Sarah, the daughter who hadn't quite figured her life out yet. That's how they saw it anyway. The barbecue was Dad's idea. He'd been talking about it for weeks, how we needed more family time, how we were all growing apart. Mom had spent the morning marinating chicken and making her famous potato salad, the one with the secret ingredient she'd never tell anyone. I'd offered to help, but she'd shooed me away, saying I'd just get in the way. That stung more than I wanted to admit. Our Uncle Ray was there with his wife Linda, and our cousins Jake and Michelle had driven in from Austin. It was supposed to be this perfect family gathering, the kind you see in commercials where everyone's laughing and having a great time. But I could feel the tension in my chest from the moment I walked outside. Marcus was already holding court by the grill, telling some story about a job site mishap that had everyone cracking up. I grabbed a beer from the cooler and tried to find my place in the conversation. That's when Marcus looked at me with that smirk I'd learned to hate over the years. "Sarah, why don't you tell everyone about your big plans for nursing school? Oh wait, that's right. You're still saving up money, aren't you?" The way he said it made my face burn, like I was some kind of failure for not having my life together at 26. I took a long sip of my beer and tried to laugh it off, but I could see the pity in everyone's eyes. Poor Sarah, still living at home, still trying to figure things out. At least I'm not taking shortcuts to get ahead. I muttered, but only Marcus heard me. His eyes narrowed, and I saw something flash across his face that made my stomach drop. "What did you say?" he asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. I should have backed down. I should have said nothing and let it go. But something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was the beer. Or maybe it was just years of watching him get away with everything while I struggled to make my parents proud. "I said at least I'm not taking shortcuts," I repeated, louder this time. "Some of us actually work for our money." The conversation around us died. Uncle Ray stopped mid-sentence about his golf game, and I could hear the ice clinking in Mom's glass as she set it down hard on the patio table. Dad looked between Marcus and me like he was trying to figure out how to defuse whatever bomb was about to go off. Marcus stepped closer to me, his face red from more than just the heat. "You want to say that again, Sarah?" "Because I'm pretty sure I didn't hear you right." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I'd never confronted him like this before, never called him out in front of everyone. But I thought about all the times I'd seen him sneaking into Dad's office late at night, all the times I'd noticed money missing from Mom's purse, all the times I'd kept my mouth shut because I didn't want to cause problems. "You heard me just fine," I said, my voice shaking but determined. "We all know how you really afford that truck and those tools and that fancy apartment downtown." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the cicadas seemed to stop chirping. Marcus's face went from red to white, and I saw his hands clench into fists at his sides. For a moment, I thought he might actually hit me. "Sarah." Dad's voice was warning, but I was past caring. "No, Dad. Someone needs to say it." We all pretend like Marcus is so successful, like he's got it all figured out, but he's been stealing from this family for years. The words hung in the air like smoke from the grill. I could see the shock on everyone's faces, the way they looked between Marcus and me like they were watching a car accident happen in slow motion. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, and Uncle Ray actually took a step back. Marcus laughed, but it was ugly and forced. "You're drunk, Sarah. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not drunk, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The $200 that went missing from Mom's jewelry box last month, the cash Dad keeps in his desk drawer that's been getting smaller and smaller. I've been watching you, Marcus. I know what you've been doing. The truth was, I'd been suspicious for months. Little things at first. Money disappearing, Marcus always having cash when he claimed his business was slow, the way he'd get defensive whenever anyone asked about his finances. I'd started paying attention, keeping track of when things went missing and when Marcus was around. It wasn't hard to connect the dots. "That's enough," Dad said, his voice sharp. But Marcus was already moving toward me, and I could see the rage building in his eyes. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" he snarled. "Sitting there in your little room, watching everyone, judging everyone. You want to know why I take money from them? Because they owe me. I've been carrying this family for years while you sit on your ass doing nothing." The admission hit like a physical blow. I'd expected him to deny it, to call me crazy or make up some excuse. But he'd just confessed, right there in front of everyone, and somehow that made it worse. "How do they owe you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "They gave you everything. They believed in you, supported you, bragged about you to all their friends. And this is how you repay them?" Marcus laughed again, that same ugly sound. "They gave me everything. They gave me expectations, Sarah. They gave me pressure to be perfect, to be the success story, to make them proud. Do you know what that's like? Do you know what it's like to have everyone watching you, waiting for you to fail? So, you decided to steal from them instead? I decided to take what I needed to keep up the image they wanted. You think this business runs itself? You think success is free? I've been bleeding money for months, but God forbid I disappoint Daddy by admitting I'm struggling." The words tumbled out of him like he'd been holding them in for years. I could see the pain underneath the anger, the desperation that had driven him to this point. But I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for him. Not when I thought about Mom counting and recounting the money in her purse, wondering if she was losing her mind. Not when I thought about Dad working extra shifts to make ends meet while his son stole from him. "You could have asked for help," I said. "They would have helped you." "Like they helped you with nursing school?" Marcus shot back. "Oh wait, they didn't. They told you to figure it out yourself, save your own money, make your own way. But when their precious son needs help, they'd move heaven and earth, right?" The words hit harder than I expected because there was truth in them. My parents had been supportive of my nursing school dreams, but they'd also made it clear that I was on my own financially. They'd helped Marcus start his business, co-signed loans, given him seed money. The double standard had always bothered me, but I'd never said anything about it. "That doesn't give you the right to steal from them," I said, but my voice had lost some of its strength. "Doesn't it? They gave me everything except the one thing I actually needed: honesty. They wanted me to be perfect, so I gave them perfect. And when perfect got expensive, I found ways to pay for it." Mom finally found her voice. "Marcus, honey, is this true? Have you been taking money from us?" The way she said it, so gentle and hurt, made my chest ache. I could see the devastation in her eyes, the way her whole world was crumbling around her. Dad just stood there, staring at his son like he was looking at a stranger. Marcus looked at Mom, and for a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be, the one who'd run to her when he scraped his knee or had a bad dream. "Mom, Answer the question," Dad said, his voice flat and cold. "Have you been stealing from us?" Marcus's shoulders sagged, and I could see the fight go out of him. "Yes, but it's not what you think. I was going to pay it back. I just needed some time to get the business back on track." "How much?" Dad asked. "Dad, please, let me explain." "How much, Marcus?" The silence stretched between them like a chasm. I could hear the burgers sizzling on the grill, the ice melting in the cooler, the distant sound of traffic on the highway. Normal life continuing while our family fell apart. "About 3,000, Marcus whispered. Over the past 6 months. The number hit like a physical blow. $3,000. I thought about all the times I'd seen Mom clipping coupons. All the times Dad had worked overtime to pay for things we needed. $3,000 that could have gone toward my nursing school fund, toward fixing the leaky roof, toward any number of things that would have actually helped our family. Uncle Ray cleared his throat. Maybe we should give you folks some privacy. No, Mom said quickly. Stay, please. We're family. We don't hide things from family. But we did hide things from family. That was the whole problem. We'd all been hiding things, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I'd been hiding my resentment toward Marcus, my frustration with always being the disappointment. Marcus had been hiding his financial problems, his desperation, his stealing. Mom and Dad had been hiding their favoritism, their different expectations for their children. I can't believe you, I said to Marcus, and I could hear the tears in my voice. I can't believe you did this to them. To us. You don't understand, Marcus said, turning on me with renewed anger. You don't understand what it's like to have everyone expecting you to be something you're not. You get to be the screw-up, Sarah. You get to live at home and take your time and figure things out, but I had to be successful right away. I had to prove myself. So you stole from the people who love you most? I borrowed from them. I was going to pay it back. When? When were you going to pay it back? After you stole more? After you destroyed their trust completely? We were shouting now, all the years of resentment and rivalry spilling out in ugly words. I could see the hurt in our parents' faces, the way they looked between us like they didn't recognize their own children. You want to know what's really sick? I continued, my voice breaking. I defended you. Every time I saw money missing, every time I suspected something, I told myself it couldn't be you. Because despite everything, despite the way you've always treated me like I'm less than you, I still believed in you. I still thought you were better than that. Marcus's face crumpled, and for a moment I saw real remorse there. Sarah, No. You don't get to apologize to me. You need to apologize to them. You need to figure out how to make this right. I looked at Mom and Dad, saw the devastation in their eyes, the way they were clinging to each other like drowning people. This wasn't how I'd wanted this to come out. I'd imagined confronting Marcus privately, maybe finding some way to make him confess without destroying everyone in the process. But once the words started coming, I couldn't stop them. I'm sorry, I said to my parents. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I suspected for months, but I kept hoping I was wrong. I kept thinking maybe I was just being paranoid or jealous. Mom walked over to me and pulled me into a hug. I could feel her shaking, could smell her perfume mixed with the scent of barbecue sauce from when she'd been helping Dad earlier. You did the right thing, honey. I know it wasn't easy. I didn't want to hurt you, I whispered into her shoulder. I know, but we needed to know. We deserved to know. Dad was still staring at Marcus, his jaw clenched tight. I want you to leave, he said finally. I want you to leave now, and I don't want to see you again until you've figured out how to make this right. Dad, please, get out of my house, Marcus. And don't come back until you can look me in the eye and tell me how you're going to fix this. Marcus looked around at all of us, his face desperate. I could see him searching for someone who might take his side, someone who might understand. But there was no one. Even Uncle Ray and the cousins were looking at him with disappointment and disgust. Fine, Marcus said finally. But don't expect me to come crawling back. Don't expect me to beg for forgiveness from people who never understood me in the first place. He stormed into the house, and a few minutes later we heard his truck start up and roar out of the driveway. The silence he left behind was heavy and suffocating. The burgers on the grill were burning, but nobody moved to turn them off. That night, after everyone had gone home and the backyard was cleaned up, I sat with Mom and Dad in the kitchen. We didn't talk much, just sat there drinking coffee and trying to process what had happened. Mom kept opening her mouth like she wanted to say something, then closing it again. He's my son, she said finally. He'll always be my son. But I don't know how to forgive this. You don't have to forgive it right away, Dad said. And you don't have to let him back in just because he's family. Trust has to be earned. Over the next few weeks, Marcus tried to call several times. He sent long text messages explaining his side of the story, making excuses, asking for another chance. But Mom and Dad weren't ready to hear it. They'd been through too much, lost too much trust. I threw myself into my nursing school applications, using the chaos at home as motivation to finally get my life on track. The guilt over exposing Marcus was eating at me, but I kept reminding myself that I'd done the right thing. Our parents deserved to know the truth, even if it hurt. 2 months after the barbecue, Marcus showed up at the house with a cashier's check for $3,000. He'd sold his truck and some of his tools, he said. He wanted to make things right. Mom cried when she saw the check, and Dad's face went through about 10 different emotions before he finally let Marcus inside. They talked for hours that day. I could hear their voices through the walls, sometimes angry, sometimes sad, sometimes hopeful. When Marcus finally left, Mom and Dad both looked exhausted, but somehow lighter. He's getting help, Mom told me later. Counseling, and he's going to be completely honest about his business finances from now on. No more pretending to be something he's not. Do you think you can forgive him? I asked. I think I can try, but it's going to take time, a lot of time. 6 months later, Marcus and I had our own conversation. He apologized for humiliating me at the barbecue, for making me feel like a failure, for putting me in the position where I had to be the one to expose him. I apologized for the way I'd done it, for not giving him a chance to come clean on his own. I was so jealous of you, he admitted. You always seemed so free, so unburdened by expectations. I envied that. I was jealous of you too, I said. You were the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. I felt like I was always competing with your shadow. We're still rebuilding our relationship. Both of us learning to see each other as real people, instead of the roles we'd been playing for so long. Marcus's business is smaller now, but it's honest. He lives in a modest apartment and drives a used car, but he sleeps better at night. I started nursing school last fall, using money I'd saved plus a loan Mom and Dad co-signed for me. They'd offered to help pay for it outright with the money Marcus had returned, but I wanted to earn it myself. Some things are more valuable when you work for them. The family barbecues are different now. Smaller, quieter, more honest. We talk about real things instead of just pretending everything is perfect. Marcus and I can be in the same room without tension crackling between us. It's not the family we used to be, but maybe it's better. Maybe it's more real. Or sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd kept my mouth shut that day. If I'd let Marcus continue stealing and lying and living his double life. Would things have gotten worse? Would he have eventually stolen so much that it destroyed our parents financially? Or would he have figured out another way to solve his problems? I'll never know for sure. But I know that the truth, even when it's ugly and painful, is better than living a lie. I know that my parents deserved to know what was happening in their own house, with their own money, with their own son. And I know that Marcus needed to face the consequences of his actions, needed to understand that his choices affected more than just himself. The smell of charcoal still takes me back to that July afternoon, but the memory doesn't hurt as much as it used to. It was the day our family almost broke apart, but it was also the day we started being honest with each other. And maybe that's worth something, even if it came at such a painful price. That barbecue taught me that sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who have to deliver the hardest truths. Sometimes being a good daughter, a good sister, a good person means saying the things that nobody wants to hear. It means standing up for what's right, even when it tears your world apart. I still live at home, but not because I'm a failure or because I can't figure my life out. I live at home because I'm saving money for my future, because I'm helping my parents through a difficult time, because I'm part of a family that's learning to be honest with each other. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be proud of. The last time we had a family barbecue, Marcus brought potato salad that he'd made himself. It wasn't as good as Mom's, but he'd tried to recreate her recipe, and that effort meant something to all of us. We sat around the patio table as the sun set, talking about our plans for the future, our hopes and fears, our real lives instead of the perfect versions we used to present to each other. "I'm glad you called me out that day," Marcus said to me as we were cleaning up. "I hated you for it at the time, but I'm glad you did it. I needed someone to stop me before I did something even worse." "I'm glad too," I said, "but I'm sorry it had to happen that way." "Maybe it didn't have to happen exactly that way," he said, "but it had to happen somehow, and maybe this was the only way I would have listened." We finished cleaning up in comfortable silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts. The burgers that night had been perfectly cooked, the conversation had been real and honest, and for the first time in years, our family felt like a family again. Not perfect, not without problems, but real, and that was enough.